Welcome back to Between the Levees. I'm joined today by Captain David Rains. He's been in the industry for 33 years. I met him 8 years ago on the mighty Donna Rushing, a 6,000 horsepower shuttle boat, rode from Belmont down to Myrtle Grove and back up to Dockside, my first overnight trip on a towboat. He joins us today from the Memphis area, waiting for a number of things before he can head south. Captain David, thank you for joining me.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, if you don't mind, let's begin. Please show us where you are, what you're up to.
All right, here's from my wheelhouse view here. Here are my 15 loaded barges. Southbound at the lower end of Memphis.
How long have you been waiting? You said a dredge and now it's tug service?
Almost 2 days.
What's the normal delay there?
3 days.
All right. Well, if you want to show us around your wheelhouse a little bit, if that's allowed. I don't think a number of my viewers have never been up there.
This is pretty much it. It is a glass castle, the nucleus of the boat. Radars, the computers. I am 5 decks tall. It's got coffee, it's got bathroom, it's got a fridge, it's everything you need, all the alarms up here.
And this is the motor vessel MARK STAAB you're on?
This is motor vessel MARK STAAB. It is a 7,500 horsepower St. Louis ship style boat. It mainly runs St. Louis to New Orleans.
Well, and of course, we met on the Donna Rushing after it had been refitted as I think, an eco-friendly vessel. Tell me about that boat.
It was the first completely green boat that A&P had done at the time. Recycled materials for insulation, ceilings, everything that went into the boat. Recycled rubber flooring, better water filtration. It was a good looking boat. It was cut down on vibration, and I'd have to say all the materials that they did use worked very well. Still do to this day. I don't believe they've done a thing to it since that refurb. For those that don't know, these boats are floating homes. If I had to equate a square footage, this would be around 4,000 square feet on the inside. I can't show you all the decks here right now, but this one's not quite 5 full decks of living space, but some boats are. You can get up to 6,000 square feet of living space inside of a boat. There's a crew of 12 on here right now. Cook, engineers, deck crew, wheelhouse. I have a steersman training. This is a training boat. I enjoy training of all sorts, but this is a floating home. So imagine being at home, except for these things are just a bit more routine. This is a structured lifestyle. A lot of ex-military come out here because it's familiar to them. We wake up at the same time, eat at the same time. There's a spot for everything. Things are very clean, or as clean as you want them to be. And we live here for 28 days, standing a 6-hour shift, 6 hours on, 6 hours off. And if you can do the discipline of being out here, then you get a giant block of time home. 4 weeks on, 4 weeks off. That's usually what keeps most of us. If you can stand being gone, the sacrifice that you put into with your family, you get to be immersed in the job, and then you go home and you can be whatever you want to be for a month. You could detach. That's, my boss was talking about this the other day. I didn't think about it, Dale, but I knew I wanted to talk with you about it if we got a chance. Detaching. He never gets away from the phone, even on weekends. And it's just causing problems with him and his family. And, you know, he's taking a full week off, leaving the phones behind, complete detachment. And I guess that's what a lot of people think life is out here. And I guess a lot of part it is. You get to detach. I don't like detaching from home life, but when you're out here, you are living the part. It also teaches you about watching somebody's back. You don't have to be friends. And a lot of time we're not. We live together. You don't know a whole lot about the person. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But they live in another part of the country. But we are our own fire department and first aid. So the person that you may not get along with by their skin color, sexual orientation, or what they identify with, that's the person that will be the one saving your life or you theirs. And so there's a lot of things that really don't matter when you're out here. That happens one of them. I've always liked that about the job. You asked earlier how long I've been on this boat. It's not quite 2 years on this boat. And I have a 2-year maximum on each boat that I purposely transfer. I just kind of fell into this. If there was a show called This Old Boat where you would go and clean one up, that's what I do. I work on any boat in the country, any river, and I will go to a boat. The company usually picks the boat. This way I get to see a different river. I don't get stuck in a routine. I don't have to worry about complacency. The only thing I've ever worried about is falling into complacency, where you start selling out your standards. And I think that's, for anyone in any job. But you move boat to boat every couple of years, different crew, different river. Some boats might be just, in need of some TLC. Sometimes just the crew that needs some training, but my days are numbered on this boat. So what else?
Yeah, I think that was plenty enough of an intro here for this episode. But if no problem at all. If you want to get started, the way this always goes, sir, where were you born?
Man, it's the Army base in Trenton, New Jersey. Trenton, New Jersey. I don't remember it, but that's where Dad and Mom said I was born. Grew up Southeast Missouri till the first 28, 29 years of life. Then followed a gal to West Texas and been in Texas ever since. So 3 beautiful biological daughters, another daughter and a son that I picked up in the last marriage. We could do a whole other segment on the divorce rate out here. And you seem to acquire more kids and ex-wives out here than it is hard to find that right mate.
You want to talk on that a little bit more?
Can. The person you are when you start out here will not be the person that, by the time you're going to make a career out of this, you change as a person. If you're a slob at home, so many years of rigid cleanup and everything has to be shiny, it'll start affecting you when you're home. You do start changing. Stress. A lot of times we come home and we don't have anything to do but be with our families. And I noticed that sometimes that starts debugging the people that work 9 to 5 and only have weekends off. So with your kids, you're ready to play and be full-time dad. With your wife or significant other, you're ready to chase her around the house all day, and you don't have to do. You could sleep in all day. You are uninterrupted, doing whatever you want. You could accidentally spend all your money in savings on a 4-wheeler or a razor or fishing equipment or guns. Happens a lot. You hear people arguing about money out here. Somebody spent too much money. Or if you're the person at home, and I don't know, because all I can tell you is, going by ex-wives, cheating is pretty high up here. You're being cheated on. It's, Jody. This is the Jody jokes.
Well,
Jody
it was on your boat. I think it was your mate. I first heard about Jody. It was, I think, that morning.
You're right. I remember that. He thought it was a myth. I was like, no, Jody's real. And he goes, Jody's got origins going back to World War II. The Army called him Joe D. Grinder. It was a name that they give to the men that were dodged at the draft and didn't want to do anything for his country, support the military. But he stayed home and, was trying to steal your woman. Joe D. Grinder just got condensed to Jody, or the Donkey Man. They, my steersman, he's been there. I've been there. Whether it's cheating or just some people just don't like to be gone. It's too much being gone. Or when you're captain out here and you're used to, we function by chain of command out here for a reason. Orders are given. We may not salute each other, but orders are followed, or you have to pack your sack and go. There's so many things that's not a democracy out here. You can take your politically correctness and all the religion, everything, it stays at home. It's got, if you identify as I don't know, a head of cabbage, you can, but you still have to tighten wires and identify whatever you want. But I don't have to call you at Unit 1, Unit 2. Not that that's ever really been an issue out here, but anyway, when you go home, you don't have that kind of authority anymore. And yeah, I've heard that more than once. I'm not one of your deck crew. Like, I'm sorry, sweetie. I don't mean to be bossing, but I get into the zone with the garage, and let's talk about, you know, why you've got all this crap in the garage. You're encroaching in on their shit when you're home, and you've got no. It's like you're the temporary. You're the guest. Sometimes it creates friction. That it takes for the guys that have had successful marriages, happy marriages, because you can be married for 20 years and still hate each other's guts. But no, the successful ones, the men out here and the women that, I don't know, they talk about their relationship and it's just amazing, respectfully. And it just takes a while to find that person. But I'm old and crusty. I don't, you know, that ship has sailed. The skills to pick a good partner, I didn't develop those yet. Loving dad, yes. Still dote on the kids, even though they're all out of, I'm empty nester. So all 5 of them are in college or military now. They show up for food. You mentioned the cosplay and stuff earlier. I have years of amazing memories of us doing conventions and making our own costumes, and years of making lightsabers and stuff. And I'm off to new hobbies now, but I saved some of our favorite costumes. I Airbnb'd for a while, turned one of my rooms into a Star Wars room. That was a bigger hit than what I thought, by the way. So I'm finding the job has a new meaning out here now that all the kids are off doing their thing.
What would you consider the major stressors in that role, in that chair up there?
From just the constant changing river stage. Like right now, if we do it in real time, it's the constant threat of running aground. It is very shallow, and you could run aground and it just not be your fault. And they can only lighten the barges up so much, and they can only lighten the boat up so much. And every dredge in the country is out working, every single one. And somebody runs aground every other day, and it may not do a lot of damage, but it stops. We have to I had my steersman make a list. We have 2 pages. These are problem areas. This is just that we have to watch out for and monitor constantly. So that's the biggest stress of this trip. Am I going to run aground? Buoy lines are extremely tight. Everything slows down, and it's just a heightened sense of awareness that it doesn't leave. There's no propping your feet up, you know. Equate this to being on the interstate when there's nobody around for a few miles and you can just put the cruise control on. There's none of that right now. That's just this river stage. Aside from that, weather is a big one. If it's going to be bad weather, shutout rain, fog. I was trying to think, is there ever any not? Yeah, there's times when there's really not much stress. You're just normal driving, and the only stress that might happen is you ever got off the side of the road a little bit, and if you're on the interstate, they have those graded sections, and it starts making a loud noise on your tires. If you do that here, then you've just knocked some barges out of tow. There is no margin for error. And so if you do get out of shape, the river punishes you instantly. Instantly. No, a day or 2 later, instantly. And you might only be moving at 5 or 10 miles an hour, but it seems like Mach 10 when things are going bad. It could be the crew. Seldom it's the crew, but sometimes the crew not getting along, or you have to, have a serious talk with somebody, or it's those talks where their job's in question, or a promotion's in question, or they're just not getting some and they're frustrated. Summertime is it's so hot out here, and people out there burning 5,000 calories a day in 6 hours, and tempers get flared up and your body's wore out, mediating things like that. Or if you have a wig wearing, cigar smoking, hateful ass cook, which they're still out there, and the food is not great and morale is down. We could do a whole section on that, on just the simple joys out here, or what you're cut off from. And but food well, no, we got a good cook out here, so every time you go downstairs, it's a good meal. But sometimes that's a stressor. But mainly it's the river from Canton. It's river, getting it safe up and down safely. Because any mistake I make out here is expensive. I think most companies have a $1 million deductible on their insurance. And that's the loss of product. And heaven forbid if it's got oil in it, then EPA's involved, Coast Guard, sometimes Homeland Security. So did anyone get hurt? It's so easy to die out here. So when you're the guy driving, I don't want that on my conscience. It is keep everyone safe, and keep your boat clean, keep everyone safe. So sometimes that can be a stressor, as mistakes are costly.
Well, of course, we're in historic low water conditions right now. A few years ago, I think we were in high water for 18 months. How different is that? What sort of stresses do you face there?
Maybe I'm crazy, but that's more fun. It's a whole different side of the river. It's a whole different. I say it's fun, knowing full well it is dangerous. Where right now I'm doing 8 mile an hour, almost average, where we would be doing 12 mile an hour. It's an old captain told me one time is, load up a U-Haul truck, get on a big hill that's got curves on icy conditions, tell yourself you've got no brakes, now go. That's what high water is like. It is it's very the margin of error is really no different than it is right now, except you don't have to worry about running aground. You don't have to worry about that at all. It just making bridges becomes, you really realize what they train us for. It's just a different kind of stress. I would say it's less stressful because you take out the risk of running aground. It is a different style of driving. It's the difference between your BMX bike racing and then, getting into a Formula One. It's that different. And that's the job. That's why it takes so long to create a pilot or a captain. The difference, the changing from that extreme high to extreme low, and doing it successfully. And I'm not gonna sit there and I'm teaching this is my third steersman, and he'll be a success story. He'll be a great captain if he wants to. But everyone I was taking, everyone that I've trained fits a similar mindset. They like the job. They like what they do. They don't want to just get by. They want as much responsibility as they can. These are the kind of people that will, if they barely make it through a bridge, say, you know what, I don't like that. I want to make sure that I make that a little bit smoother next time. The kind of people that, I'll pick their brains later on when they get to be one of my peers. One of the people I trained is a pilot on here right now. My first steersman is a captain on it. I enjoy giving back. And but when you're green, and you're green for like 5 to 10 years, by the way, because there's thousands of miles of river you have to put in your brain, locks, landings, bridges, and then there's the different river stages. Regular water, extreme high, extreme low. Then you have to see all that in the daylight and then all of that in the dark. It takes a while. Then you have to learn to be calm. When you're not calm, you miss all kinds of things when you're not calm. Not just as a person, but as a professional.
What's the tightest bridge you have to transit on the lower? Or the most problematic for trainees?
Oh, problem with Vicksburg, 100%. And it's not just for trainees. It's Vicksburg, 100%. I don't, whether it's high water or low water, it's Vicksburg. It's the most hit bridge down here.
Tell me about that. I've never been up there.
Well, I could break down the history on when these bridges were built to the turn of the 1910, 1920. The railroad was in charge of Corps of Engineers, all bridges going across. And that's what all bridges started out as a railroad bridge. And no one can prove this, but barges were, there have been barges since the Civil War, but by the time, people really started making money off of it, it was taking money, business away from the railroad. And it still does. It's the cheapest way to move things in bulk. By the way, if you see me looking around, I'm watching boats go by and I'm still doing my circle of awareness. I glance at the radar, the sounders. Anyway, so.
Is there a boat passing? Can you show us?
Oh, yeah. There is a Marquette boat passing me right there. Northbound traffic over there waiting. If you can see it. Yep.
Just remove some of the glamour to this job, some of the mystery. Anyway, so I'm sorry I cut you off. Please continue about the Vicksburg Bridge.
How do you, Mark Staab?
Stop back, say again.
How wide are you?
3 wide.
3 wide. Johnny, what about that Karen seat? How wide is he?
3 wide.
Can you get on the outside of you?
Absolutely.
Tell him, get with him. You come down, get in that second pocket, get that Karen seat on the outside of you so I get that damn empty split drivers off of him.
Okay. And this is the unpredictable part of the job right here. Tim, I've enjoyed it. This is to spur me on to make sure I got more time.
And then maybe one of these will have to push up.
Sorry, I gotta cut this short.
Just shoot me a note later on if you stop again.
All right. Thanks again, old friend.
Yes, sir. Thanks. So welcome back, David. Glad we can get back together this evening here. We left off, you were talking about the Vicksburg Bridge, but before we get too far further down that rabbit hole, I was going to ask you, are there any other spots in the entire inland river waterway system that are as bad or worse than the Vicksburg Bridge?
Yeah, several. And it doesn't have to be a bridge. It could be a bend so sharp, or the amount of Algiers Point at New Orleans is a good one. The amount of traffic there is so intense that they have a vessel traffic system that monitors and records all traffic 24/7. It's a sharp turn, and then with the amount of ship traffic and boat traffic, it's a recipe for disaster. So some place like that's dangerous. Cairo Point, 2 largest rivers in the country meet. Very important to barge traffic. Busy. So places like that are, I guess it depends on what you're doing at the time, but it's always one of those, you don't have to worry about being bored right there. Places like this, St. Louis Harbor, Louisville, Cincinnati, places with a series of bridges, 7 to 10 bridges in 2 or 3 miles. You're going to be busy. Then you factor in river traffic, and every place that I mentioned has lots of barges. Every company usually has work there. The amount of petroleum and petroleum byproduct places that are every major city, it's just lots of traffic. So, and you can do that on any river, the Illinois, the Ohio, Pittsburgh, 3 major rivers come together right there. Really busy port. Baton Rouge, Quad Cities, St. Paul, Minnesota, Chicago, all of Chicago and Joliet area. So then, some places are not that intense until you factor in just one condition. You get caught in a storm, And someplace that's seemingly uneventful becomes eventful very fast. Or anything that messes with your radar, your instruments. Right.
Well, how about
Those are the
locks?
major ones. And there,
How about locks?
locks are
What's the easiest one to make, the worst one to make, the age of them, condition, anything you want to say about the locks on this system?
locks are it's a good skill set. It's like backing into your own garage. It you don't have to do it. You don't have to know how to do it, but it's tighter than parking in your driveway. Lock is the same way. I would guess lock 27 on the north side of St. Louis would be the easiest one, being it's in a canal. It's never affected by current. Every other lock is affected by current. The Ohio River can raise and lower. I've seen it 8 feet in a day. You can literally watch the river come up. It makes getting into the lock. You have to put 15 barges. You have to land, do a controlled landing on a large concrete structure with current pushing you one direction. It takes a while. Nobody gets thrown to the wolves. You get properly trained by it, but one mistake and your barges are broken, or if your barges go towards the dam, there's no getting them back. The pressure of the dam, so it's definitely a stressful one there. Hard locks to make, and that's all opinion right there. I gave you the easiest one, but the hard ones, it all depends on river stages. There's so many hard ones on going up towards St. Paul. Those are some of the oldest locks in the country. And, there and going up to Chicago, but the Ohio, most of their locks are a little bit newer, but still, it for us out here, it's beautiful scenery, and it's a chance to go through a town, maybe see some civilization. But they all get their challenges, especially when the water comes up. When the water is normal, it's just you slow down, and every lock is a little bit different. And you put your 15 barges into your 1,160 foot long by 105 into a chamber that's 1,200 feet by 110, 5 feet on each side. So it's an art form going in there. Thanks to technology today, we can speed up the process, or there's, like I said, there's several drone footage on it. I think it's pretty cool, but I guess you have to like this industry to appreciate that.
Well, is there any consistency of design in the system? I know how different the locks down here in the Gulf are that go into the canals. Are there any that are built identically?
No, the ones in canals that anything Arkansas River has similar design locks that what you have in the canals. And from what I've read in France, where there's smaller canals about the same size, their locks are, from what I've seen in pictures, designed the same way. It's not as massive of a structure, and it's a lock, a little bit of a dam, but the dam is not as large of a substructure as what they have on the Ohio or on the Mississippi, where there would be a power plant attached to the dam. The dam's much larger. Or on the Tennessee River, where there's literally a 100-foot drop. I am still in awe of the engineering project that is that when you literally go into a lock chamber and you drop 100 feet. So the people that, the brains that come up with things like that, I'm always amazed by, what we can create. But no, yeah, that's on the canal, the locks are the same. They serve the same function, but the dams serve different functions for what they do to the canal on something with a larger river. They pretty much take advantage of every large dam in the country. If they can get some power from it, they're trying to, whereas the ones in the canal aren't large enough.
Well, dialing back to your story and your journey to the wheelhouse, starting back very early on, what did your dad do in the Army?
Dad, he made it up to He was senior drill sergeant, and he made a career out of that. He did try on the river for a few months because a few of his brothers were on the river. Some went to the Corps of Engineers, and some stayed out here until they retired as captains. But he went military. He did 22 years, and but then he went to work for Exxon, and it's like he still had ties to the river. We were never very far from it. How about that? This industry generates lots of jobs. This is 65% of the import-export of the country. Might be more than that right now, but it the petroleum, the byproducts, jet fuels, plastics, styrenes, benzenes, not to mention the coal, the grain, the steel, the aluminum. And we import it, we export it, just almost everything this boat does. We take all these loads to the Gulf and it's loaded. So I've spoken at several high schools over the years. Got a nice PowerPoint presentation about not just the marine industry, but the jobs that generated from this. Like I said, I mentioned Dad working for Exxon, and they're our main supply of engine oil. These engines out there, a lot of people don't know that they run 24/7 for years, and we overhaul them every 4 to 5 years. So a piece of machinery that runs, especially with the amount of strain that they're under, we use fully synthetic gear oil and engine oil. That stuff's tested every week. So pretty impressive oils and pretty impressive machinery. Which makes it wonder, why don't they put better machinery in your car? If it can run 24/7 out here for 4 or 5 years. But that's where I started. I thought I'd give this job a try for the summertime and then go into the Marines. End up liking like the work, like the time off even better. Because when you're a young single guy, this job is freedom, and especially if you keep your bills low. It's, you don't have a family. It's yeah, you get lots of traveling in. Spent almost 11 years on deck. Worked up to first mate. Got my license. You don't have to spend as much time on deck, but it's recommended. I think it makes a better captain when you work your way up all the positions. Nowadays, there's such a shortage of, and there has been for a decade, there's such a shortage of captains and pilots on 2 or 3 years is all you need to apply for your license. And the steersmen, both steersmen I've had right here made it to mate.
What do you think contributes to that shortage in the wheelhouse?
There are 2 things. One, not very many people know about this job. If you don't live next to a river or hear about it, you've worked out here. How often is it actually advertised? There's no movie about it, no commercials. If you don't pass over a bridge or live near the water, you don't ever even see it, even though it is literally one of the oldest jobs in the country. It is, and the other thing is one, especially after COVID, it's hard to make manual labor look appealing. It's hard to make anything that you can't make money from home look appealing. So less deck crew feeding means just less employees to move up. We've seen career or industry record low on just the amount of people applying for the job. I can tell you this: I live in Dallas. In the 8 years I've done speaking to high schools, no one's heard. No, they've heard of the marine industry, but they usually think of everyone thinks ships going deep sea. No one thinks local or barges, but yeah, as someone who's been in the dating pool or dating apps, I can tell you, I get accused of lying whenever I say we're 28 days on, 28 days off. It's like, they just outright accuse me of lying. It's a made up job, but it's not. But that, and it takes so many years of training. Yeah, it seems like all we do is sit in a chair and drink coffee, but it's not too people. I've seen people that are competent, but when it comes to the actual driving, it's not like one of those things. If you keep doing it, some people just can't. It is too hard on the nerves. It's too much responsibility.
Well, were your uncles the first generation in the industry in your family?
Yes.
What led them to the industry?
See if I remember asking them. They didn't want to go to the military and they didn't want to go to college. But and the same thing, they went out and they got summer jobs as decking and just liked it and then moved from there. So and then just had an aptitude for one of them went the engineer route. And that dredge that they worked on was only 2-hour drive is most they've ever had to do for work. That dredge was based out of St. Louis, still is to this day. So they like the convenience of that. And,
well, did you go to college?
I did not.
So it was a straight from.
Yeah. Other than you go to school to of course when I got my license, you had to go to school for a few months, but it's just to get your license. To get trained with a radar, get endorsed by radar, and then pass a series of Coast Guard tests. Any other education I've got, and I've got a few semesters of in anthropology when COVID was in and was bored, did some online courses, and but I'm 53 now, so getting a degree would just be intellectual vanity. Don't really need it because I know I'm going to retire out here, but you don't need a college degree to work out here. Times have gotten so tough, they lifted the you do not have to have a high school degree to apply as a deckhand anymore. So, and I can't say it's needed unless you start moving up. And then, it wouldn't hurt to have your GED. You can't get a license without it. But there's plenty of time out here to further your reading and writing and your own intellect. Seen lots of guys when I first started out here that could not, their literacy was way down, but they kept at it slowly, and some of them even went on to have good office jobs. But that's the only thing left out here for taking an office job, becoming a port captain. It's still available, but I would not have that time off anymore. Would not get that big block of time off. So
right.
Well, back to the. Go ahead.
Did you go directly into the industry from high school?
Yes.
Well, tell me about your personal introduction to it. Onboarding, training, deck life, getting promoted on deck, that whole run. I think you said 11 years.
Right. You let's see, applied back when when you still had to call somebody on the phone. And then you really had to take notes. Went to Paducah, Kentucky. There was a training center. Company was called Midland at the time. They're Ingram now, but they were called Midland. They, got about 40 of us together, and then they start putting you through the ropes, make you pack rigging, and tell you what you're in for. Then they start cutting people right there in front of you, who's going to make it and who's not going to make it. And a little over half of us went through. Then you're on a boat not 5 days later. And that was a shock. I had to drive to West Virginia, and growing up in a small town in Missouri, I bet I got lost 5 times. And I knew how to use a map, but when you go to backwoods of West Virginia and you come to a 4-way stop, and this place still exists, by the way, every direction is called Route 2. And you get on the boat for the first time, and no one's friendly. I mean, they look out for you, but nobody's friendly. You don't know what to expect. And some of them are probably taking bets whether you're going to quit or it turns out they were. So then you go to someone's always yelling to do something. They don't ever just ask normally. They just bark orders. So still, it had to be better than the military. We're getting paid. The work, the 6 hours on, 6 hours off. I grew up on a farm, so I wasn't a stranger to physical labor. But decking is different. You're always out in the hot sun. There's no shade. And when you're green, you don't know what's going on. Someone's just saying, carry this, carry that. So when you come out here when you're young, you stack on a bunch of muscle in a hurry. You're just eating, sleeping, and then it's hardcore manual labor. Food was good, and then you start getting into a routine. You start to know a little bit more. But yeah, I don't miss being green. Having to remember to put a life jacket on before you step out of a door is harder to. And then if you forget it, then someone's yelling at you. The being yelled at is not that takes. Yeah. Mark Twain wrote a lot about how a first mate was scary. And I'm paraphrasing here, of course, about how, they never ask for anything. It's always barking at you and in some way that just makes you feel horrible about yourself. And that still happens a lot to this day. They don't ask you to do things. They tell you to do things.
Tell me about some exciting things that happened on deck over the years, and then how the promotion came about, maybe all that kind of stuff.
I worked with some good mates. I got to, of course, you have to work with ones that aren't good to know what is good. A guy that steps on the boat first minute and he just takes charge. He sees something needs to be done. He does it. Always takes responsibility and always has a plan. And that mindset still holds true, I think, for anyone's work ethic. No guilt, no shame, but you can still take responsibility for your actions or your crew. Just, I'm sorry, Cap, this happened, it won't happen again. I'm on top of it. I wish a lot more things could get reduced down to, let's not get hung up on who's at fault. So when you start working with guys like that, you start learning a whole lot. And they're happy to teach. Then you work with some good captains who they don't mind you being in the wheelhouse. Back then, a lot of them, you don't have a reason to be in a wheelhouse, then don't be hanging out up here. So you get to watch some of them drive, And it wasn't until I was a mate, I think, I think I'd like to do that one day. And I was about to become a father for the first time. And, this is it's something I'd like to, do the natural progression. But I love being first mate. It's an important part of the job. As long as there have been boats and ships, there's been a captain and a first mate. If the captain is the brain, the mate is definitely the strong right arm of he's the guy that hands, he sets the tone for everything. If you see a boat going down the river and it's clean, that's the deck crew. And the mate is behind that. He's a busy guy. He has to watch. I may watch everybody, but I'm not working hand in hand with them down there. The mate is. Still a very important job. And definitely enjoyed it.
Well, do any specific stories of instances?
About 1,000. I'll tell you one. I'm scaling it down to PG-17 here in my brain. I'm first mate. I have this green 18-year-old kid from Southern Indiana. I don't remember his name, but I remember his green face. Because when he got on the boat, I thought, man, he can't even grow facial hair. Good, hard-working kid, kept to himself. About a week into the trip, the captain comes to me. And by the way, this is back when if the captain had to say anything twice, I was getting my butt chewed out for something. He said, your deckhand's not waking me up very loud. So before there's alarm clocks on your cell phones, you had to go knock on someone's door And for anyone that doesn't know what it's like waking 4 or 5 people up, it's not as easy as what it sounds. Out here, it's fairly normal, but you can't just knock on the door and slide your hand on. No, you have to open the door. Hey, time to get up. Turn on the light. I have to say it with your adult voice. He said, "The deckhand, I can't hear him when he comes in there. It's too soft." So I go to the deckhand and say, "When you wake up the captain, you're going to have to be a little bit louder." I didn't think anything of it. A few more days go by. Captain calls me upstairs, and then he just, when I say he rimmed me out, it was like a 5-minute long. So I go downstairs and I find deckhand. I give him twice his version of what I just got. I said, "I don't know what's going on with you. I don't know if you're scared or whatever, but when you wake up that captain," I said, "matter of fact," I said, "when you wake him up today, I'm going to show you how it's done. I want to see what you do." And he woke up the chief, seemed normal. He's a little quiet. And you got to understand, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. So knock on the captain's door. I'm just sitting back. I said, "Show me what you got." And I should have thought, because he looked so nervous knocking on that captain's door. I thought maybe he just scared the captain. I don't know why. We knock on that guy's door, open it up, turn on the light, and now you got he's standing in the middle of the room, buck naked. I don't mean he's standing there straight in a Superman pose. And I'm just, to this day, I remember seeing that guy buck naked thinking, wow, because he's supposed to be sleeping. Now, he'd been standing there for like 5 minutes waiting for us. But that's why that kid didn't want to open his door, is because he's been subject to looking at that for about a week. And I guess he got tired of it. I said, "Cap, what's going on?" He said, "Where's the deckhand?" And I said, I disappointed. And the guy just looked in shock, like he'd seen enough. He'd seen some shit. And he's like, I'm not doing that anymore. I said, "How long have you been standing there?" He said, I don't know, 5 minutes. And later on, I would ask him, I was like, "Man, does that seem normal to you?" I just yelled at this poor kid who was doing his job. And all you care about is shocking him with your tick-like body. That's what it was. Just that's how I remember it. Of course, in my head, it's more like cartoon form. It's just small head, giant body. But to him, there was no apologizing. There was no, "I'm sorry for emotionally scarring you or for being weird." I just thought, that's just weird. And that's just, yeah, there's a whole, right. I've got tons of stuff like that, whether it's me making mistakes or being gullible for pranks. Because before the internet, entertainment is cheap out here, folks. So if you see some poor deckhand wrapped up in aluminum foil, and I mean wrapped up in aluminum foil with some cone-shaped head and standing in the middle of nowhere, somebody told that poor kid that he was, they said, "Look, we're having trouble with the TV antenna. We need you to go out here." And then they wrap him up. And he just stands out there like an aluminum scarecrow. Like, "Oh, you poor bastard, will fall for anything." I kind of miss times like that, and I kind of don't. But yeah, it's a life out here. So it's nice when there's entertainment time like that. I don't want to see guys naked standing in their room. Friendships get made. Some of them are lifelong. I'm lucky enough to have several lifelong friendships out here, people that you deck with, and you never know who you're gonna, 10, 20 years become really good friends with, somebody that you'd be welcome into their home. Or yeah, tons of stories like that. Tons. Whether it's good cooks, bad cooks, weird chief engineers, it just, yeah, we'd have to break them down by category, but yeah, river lessons.
Well, spin the wheel and share with me one about a cook.
Let's see. Do I want to paint cooks in a good light, or? Well,
it may not be fair because I know they're in the same good and bad now at the same time.
They are.
I will just scratch this, but is there any other story that comes to mind in any category that you care to share? Because I think these are good.
Yeah, I'll take one. And a good friend of mine. Both of them are good friends of mine to this day. They weren't at the time. We were just work colleagues, but I was first mate, and chief engineer was an excellent engineer. And in fact, this chief engineer and I, we hung out on our off time quite a bit, but not the time. He's the only guy I've ever seen. He could play blues guitar left-handed and right-handed. And it was fun hanging out with him because, you know, he would go on Beale Street and play blues live. And I'd never heard that before and started my love of blues. But anyway, he was also a complete cut up on the boat. So much to where, I mean, I know he worked, but there had to be two of him because he was always working or doing a prank on somebody. I don't think he ever slept. It just prank and work. That was it. The guitar thing. We had a deckhand, and let's call him Jared because that's his real name. Jared looked like he was 12, even though he was 20. He just had that face. Every cook loved Jared. There's something about him made cooks just go into nurturing mode. And Jared was a devil, just a scamp, total scamp. But he would, if you wanted fresh cookies, have Jared ask the cook. If you was the captain or the mate, yeah, you get nothing done. Have Jared go in there and ask for you. And Jared also decided, and I've been there, when you're green and you're thinking that in the town you come from, that your pranking game is up, it's not. You come out here, you're going to get crushed. You have no game. The people out here have got more experience, and they'll do more horrible stuff to you than you could. And Jared was no different. He said, "Man, I'm going to get that chief today. I'm going to grease his doorknobs." And I thought, grease his doorknob, that's it? I said, "Man, he rigged up an egg on a string to swing out and hit you in the face when you opened your door." That's the level he went to. That was his opening game. You're over here greasing doorknobs. I mean, you're way in the minor leagues. He's world-class pro. Just stop. You're never gonna. You couldn't talk Jared out of it. So it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I can't find Jared, which we know everyone knows where everyone else is at all times. If someone doesn't show up, you start getting worried. You go looking for them. It's a buddy system. Where's Jared? He went. I know it. He was taking the trash out, which the trash is usually always on the stern of the boat. And it's a full moon night. Now, Brad is on the front watch. Jared and I are on the back watch. Brad should have went to bed at 11 o'clock. So at 1 o'clock in the morning, when I walk back to the stern, and you can see Brad very well because it's full moon, I thought he was suicidal. He's just staring out the wheel wash of the boat. I said, "Chief, you okay?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Have you seen Jared?" He said, "No." I said, you're just standing out here kind of making me worried here about everything. All right?" "Yeah." And then you hear some muffled screams. I look around and there's the trash bin. The chief was waiting inside the trash bin now. Now, I can't believe a man thinks this is normal behavior, but he was inside the trash bin. So when Jared opened it, he just gorilla grabbed him, wrestled him into the trash bin, and then locked him in there for a while. They both stunk, by the way. Bad. It was horrible. I said, "Brad, how long was you waiting in that trash can?" He goes, "I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. I said, "And that's normal to you?" "Yeah." Looking at me like I'm the strange one. I said, please don't do that again. Don't, I mean, it's dangerous. That was, yeah, those two was always going at each other. And they were great friends on their off time. And still are to this day. Brad's still an engineer, and Jared went the engineer route. But yeah, that That was just a normal prank war for them.
Well, tell me a little something, if anything comes to mind, about your journey from mate to the wheelhouse, maybe your first time at the sticks, and I guess that whole process.
I would like to say it on the no captain or pilot has to train anyone. We all do it. That's an industry standard. And there's a lot of my brethren that feel like don't train anybody, so they'll have to pay us more. Then there's the other half that's just pass on the knowledge. And it's called a sea daddy, the guy that trained you in the wheelhouse. That's all he asks, pass it on to at least one person. But I remember earlier I told you I go boat to boat every couple of years. I did that on deck as well. I was really worried when I had my license, who's going to train me? Because I thought back then you have to make friends with somebody to be. No, when I started making some phone calls, and 4 or 5 captains stood up and said, "Yeah, we'll train you." Just on the work that you do. That's a nice thing to know, and I've led my career like that. All three of the people that I've trained were Cody here. I've worked with him. I know what he's about. I know what he'll do. But the other ones came recommended by people that I trust. But I like that we still live in an industry where you get promoted on not who you are, but what you've done and what you're capable of. These people don't owe me anything. I will gladly train them and keep supporting. And so I do like that about the industry. And because what I hear from family and friends and whatnot, that's just about any job. Sometimes if you don't know the right person, you're not going to get a shot. So it's nice to know, but just by the work alone, you don't have to suck up. You don't have to know the right person. Just pay your dues, work up the chain, and you'll get your shot. And so then that's what happened to me. One of the captains I was made for, he's like, you did your part, you did a good job. So then you start the training. By the way, you go from a job where you know very well and you're confident about to you know nothing. Even if you've been steering on your off watch, you know nothing. And the river lets you know every watch, you know nothing. And just when you think you've got a handle on it, it's like, this driving stuff ain't so bad. And then Old Man River beats you down, or Mother Nature beats you down. The training is frustrating. It humbles you, and it's supposed to. There's a healthy amount of anxiety to it. If you have an accident, it's soul crushing. Unless you're the type of person where nothing's ever your fault. But just the right amount of anxiety to keep you paying attention to all the things that you're trained to do. And the job does get easier. Keep doing it. And but that's what training was first like. You spend 12 hours a day with a guy for a year and a half. You'll know just about everything about each other, and get on each other's nerves, or whatever crappy music he listens to, because as a steersman, you don't have a whole lot of rights. And yeah, I remember the training fondly. It's what some things seemed really difficult back then are second nature now, or some of the things that he was trying to teach, they won't make sense until 5 or 10 years down the road. Of course, even if he would have told me that back then, it still wouldn't have made sense till 5 or 10 years down the road. But he retired about my 5th year out here. So training is a big deal. Who trains you? Somebody can unknowingly pass on their fears or the prejudices. So finding the right person to train you. And we have tons of people with their license now waiting for a shot. But this company only allows so many people. I think it's 5 or 6 at a time. So there are more people with their license right now than there are people willing to train.
Do any specific instances come to mind about your time training at the sticks where Old Man River reminded you who he was?
Yeah, Vicksburg. Yep. I got so out of shape. I only saw the guy that trained me. He only drove twice, and one of them, the first time was at Vicksburg, and I couldn't see it that I was out of shape. He just grabbed the back of the chair and pulled me out of the way. Didn't say a word. Did about 3 or 4 maneuvers, and I was still wondering what was going on. And it became apparent about 2 minutes later, real quick, that I was going to crash and crash bad. That let me know right there. There's a whole world of things I'm just not seeing. He saw it in an instant, or was hoping I would see it. I didn't, and it made me feel horrible. He didn't say a word. Also, when it was all over with, he said, this is what you should have done here and there, and I had to step in here in the last minute. I thought, well, that sucks. I really thought that I was looking just fine. That humbled me quick. That was the first humbling moment. That just because things look normal to you out the window, you have no idea how bad it's about to get. That was the first humbling moment. So I started asking more questions, and it's just, you're just green. But I saw it then after he did it. Seeing a boat crash for the first time. I mean, I've seen it from the deck point of view, but not up here. And it wasn't my crash; it was somebody else's. Everyone crashes, by the way. Everyone has an accident. They're not fun. They're horrible. But watching these huge objects come flopping out of the air like a crappie, you get it. Like, man, this is dangerous. This is really dangerous. You hit this boat just right, it'll go down in a minute. So it really hits home about how serious this stuff is. All the protocols. When I was on deck, all the things I thought were boring about fire drills and man overboard, like, this stuff's serious. You are now the person in charge. You don't get to push this off on anybody. So how would you feel if you skip protocol and someone died? And so it just becomes serious. The moment, I guess, of dawning comprehension where it is all on you. You got to hit the general alarm. You can't freak out. And then there's that wondering, am I going to be able to do this? Because the guy behind you, he makes it look so easy, and it seems hard to get there. That kind of, I don't know, stress. I guess a lot of them just don't want to do that. And then you go from a job, like I said, a job that you know well. Imagine working out here 10 years, and then you're green all over again. It's not good for the ego, but keep at it. It gets better. But those moments are what I think about whenever I remember my training, the mistakes you made, and remembering how important this job is.
Well, where did this policy develop of only 2 years on a boat, from even deckhand on to now?
That's just all the time the Coast Guard requires for you to apply for your license. And the Coast Guard redid the licensing, I don't know, 20 years ago. It goes in 3 stages now. But to apply for the first set of 3, all you need is 2 years on the river. And then you get a booklet, and then you get a sheet, and then there's a big checklist. It's supposed to take a year and a half. Then you go get another one. Then, isn't that right, Code? After the second one, then you can start steering.
Once you get your steersman, you can steer, and then you upgrade to mate pilot.
Right. So it's how long from when you got your first one to being sitting here?
2 years.
Yeah. So you might be able to apply in 2 years, but you're going to be doing 2 more years of other testing, another. So 4 years minimum before you can even sit in the chair as an apprentice. Now, the company would like for you to work your way up the chain. And in 4 years, you should at least be second mate, preferably first mate. But I can see it you don't really have to. It helps, but it's not impossible to be a good captain on times do change. People learning faster, share information more, or share information better than what it used to. So yeah, I think that's a healthy assessment right there. On 4 years from the time you work out here, you could be sitting in here learning. You won't be turned loose, so 6 to 8 years, you could be turned loose and be a pilot on your own. Yeah, that's realistic look at it.
You said you only spend 2 years at a time on a boat before switching. Did I understand that correctly earlier?
Yes.
Why is that? And you said even on deck you were switching boats every 2 years.
It started didn't have a choice. The company that I first started decking with, they didn't have regular boats for deck crew. They were I don't know why. I didn't know enough about boat stuff then. But it was almost a different boat every trip. And I thought that was normal. The only way to get a regular boat, you had to be a little bit older, a mate, and then you could work on the lower. I didn't stick with that company long enough. I guess sort of like 1990, 1998, it was you were always bouncing around. Like I said, I thought that was normal. And I went to Memco in 1998. And then after that, AEP bought them, and then ACVL bought AEP, and you could get a regular boat with Memco. But I talked to my bosses when I became first mate about, it just made me happier. That complacency thing I was talking about on our first segment. I don't know, it's just something I just kind of enjoy. Once a boat is really cleaned up and it's just all you're doing is maintaining, start getting bored. And I've seen what happens to good people when they get complacent. And you don't have to work out here to be afflicted by that. And I don't know, there's a different skill set working with different people and trying to get the same results. I think you act more professionally. Like, look, I don't know you, we just met. You get better orientations. And you see enough people, they only get to see how to do things one way. When you go boat to boat, you learn all kinds of ways to do things. And I picked up so many things going to other boats. And then when I got in the wheelhouse, I started tripping a lot. And you see somebody else has got a better way of setup. They got the wheelhouse laid out a little bit better. Or, I mean, people have got a lot of great ideas. You'll never see these great ideas if you don't start getting out there. But it comes down to the projects. I enjoy the projects. As green pilot, it just worked out. But as pilot, you're not in charge of any projects. I just wanted to learn different rivers, so I kept, a year or two on every boat. Like, you know what? I feel like I've got the lower down, but I need to learn more about locks. So I'd go on the Ohio. I'm like, okay, I've got the Ohio down, but I really could use the upper in the Illinois. So you start bouncing around. I wanted to be proficient at every river stage. That takes a while. Then you become captain, and you realize you've acquired all these skills. And I just kind of fell into that. It's like, this boat's pretty clean. You go to another boat. Fast forward to now, it's port captains actually, I don't know, it's kind of got into a reputation of, you drop me on a boat just to clean one up, and I've become very fast at it. Shockingly fast. But I've got full support of the engineers and the port captains. And I enjoy it. You get a good mate, a good enough crew, and then and once again, the company they got to spend a whole lot more money. This boat here has been a joy to watch it turn around. And then I don't know, it's more than just driving. It's just, it's no different than watching, your house or your car turn around from something that needs some TLC. Still enjoy it, probably always will. That I just haven't found that one boat I can honestly say, I'd like to retire right here.
Well, I'm going to cover, I guess, from when you were first cut loose to now, but I know, was Memco the first wheelhouse job?
AEP. Well, yeah. AEP had just acquired Memco, and that was, right at 2000. That's when I got in the wheelhouse, 2000. It was like right in 1999 or 2000, something like that, when I went to wheelhouse.
Well, tell me about working for AEP. I was only with them about 6 months before they sold, but it sounds like you were 15 years, 16 years almost.
Really good company. I'd have to say, when you work for a place, they're just a big nameless, faceless. But I could say AEP was different. You really felt it with the bonuses. That was the first company I've seen that give everyone a bonus. Not just wheelhouse. That was nice. Twice a year. It was 13 paid holidays. 13. As somebody that has kids, I tell you, insurance was a little bit better and cheaper. It was good company. They cared about safety. They treated all their boats equally, and you didn't have to ask for it. I really enjoyed that. They did believe in investing in people and their equipment. A lot of companies out here, they'll run their equipment ragged and just put the bare minimum on. But they did go a little bit above and beyond. Like with the green boat, they cared about how water tastes out here. They were just a good company. The turnover was lower, so we enjoyed. So it was a shock when they sold. They built a bunch of new boats, a bunch of new barges. So they seemed to care, and it was pretty obvious. There was like no hiding it. So, and it was enjoyable to work with them. Enjoyable. I mean, they offer tons of perks. If you work for them, it was 10% off your AT&T bill, and I can go on and on. They did meetings not just for the wheelhouse, but for engineers and mates as well. They want everybody informed. It was just good company. So we had nothing but respect and good memories for that. And ACBL's trying to get there. It takes time to turn the ship around, and they definitely are getting better. So yeah, that was been a big part of the wheelhouse journey there.
Well, tell me about the transition from AEP to ACBL. My perspective wasn't too educated, as I said,
Well,
just 6 months in one little function.
I've seen this twice now, where a company acquires another one. There's some animosity that goes there. The people that were original, the hardliners, and I'm going to go ahead and say ACBL had no standards for a long time. When they acquired AEP, it was the culture over here was bare minimum. It is not what I would call professional standards. And there's a little bit of remnants to that. What'd you say, Code?
Channel 77. Start heading this way. You shut up and I'm for
Okay. They bought AEP for a reason. They wanted the resources, and they want to start doing things differently. So it's not an easy process doing things differently. You got the people a lot of people would not work for ACBL. I'd say 30% of wheelhouse personnel quit immediately. They would not work for ACBL. So I stuck it out, and I'd say it's a nice blend of the two. We don't have as many benefits, but we did get some. We didn't keep all. And I have no problem getting standards, but they still don't treat all their boats the same. This company is so big. I'd say that's just the biggest difference. And if they would just do that, I think that would be a key figure in turning things around. I don't know about turnover. I'm sure that's a bigger puzzle, but I'm just not seeing the whole thing around to reduce turnover. I wouldn't mind learning about that one day, but hang on just a second.
it.
Hey, Jeff, what parts do you need first? Boxes? Or,
Yes.
I don't really know if you're picking up boxes and rates, but is there any barge you need relatively square?
No, they're all interchangeable.
That are in clear and I can bring.
Boxes.
Boxes. They're all interchangeable.
All right, sounds good.
We're picking up barges at Memphis. Tug is bringing them out. So come in here with 15 barges, going to fill up with 25, and they're bringing them to them one at a time. So anyway, back to the transition. There's the people that don't want their company to change, and then there's the people that, you know, we just started working for somebody else. I was excited about it. I was the first one to say, you know, send me to an original ACBL boat, and they don't keep it a secret either. Like, you know, we know you came from AEP. You know, we're not doing anything different. I was like, well, I'm the captain of the boat right now. You know, you'll wear a pink tutu if I fucking say so. So let's go ahead and stop with it. You know, I'm not doing anything different. And then you start diving into ACBL rules and regulations. It's like, well, I mean, turns out you guys, you're supposed to be doing things anyway. So it takes years of changing the culture and the standards. And that's a harder one. I can make everyone on here do what I want within reason. I'm not asking anyone to do anything outside of their job. But, you know, say I can make you clean something a certain way, but that doesn't mean you're going to do it because you think it's right. That's getting into personal stuff. So how do you change the culture of someone who gets on here and says, you know, I like that things are organized and I like that things are clean on a regular basis. I'm going to keep them this way. That's different. That's changing the culture takes time. Because no one should have to have pride in what they do just to have a job and earn a paycheck. But it's nice when people do. And ACBL really needed a big dose of pride in our home away from home. You have pride in your own standards, your own work skills, in your boat, in your company. I'm not about to go get an ACBL tattoo, but they've been nothing but supportive of everything we do here, and they've let me go boat to boat, and I've got my third steersman right now, so they are a good company. They don't have as many benefits as what I was used to, but they're not devoid of benefits. And it is the largest company. This is the largest of the dry cargo, so there's certain things that have to go down, but it's job security also. And let's see, I've never felt like moving. I didn't. I've tripped for lots of companies: Marquette, Kirby, Florida Marine, Golding. Marquette is another one. They're pretty hard on people. They don't keep it secret either. What else? That's all I think about the transition on that. Budget stays the same. It's not like there's a bunch of huge differences as far as captain goes. There's really not. Same amount of drills, same amount of safety meetings, a little bit different paperwork. Your paperwork changes. It no longer says AEP. It says a new company. In fact, there's a little bit less paperwork here now. But after AEP, at the end of AEP, that's when digital charts really start coming out here. But you know, they're standard here now. Much better. Technology has really gotten a lot better the past 15 years. Instead of being way behind, we're just right there with technology. It's a lot nicer. So pretty much it about the transition. It's I don't know. I've been doing this long enough to know if ACBL was to sell. I don't know. I was a little worried when AEP sold out, but looking at it now, it just wouldn't bother me if someone else bought this. They'll need people to operate boats. If someone else buys this, it's because they want barges and boats. They'll have to pay people to. So the money didn't change. It's fact, we probably make a little bit more here now than what we did with AAP. So, yeah, no complaints.
And how have the last 7 years been?
Professionally, it went by pretty quick. Trying to think how many boats I've been on in 7 years. I think it's 3 or 4. It's 4. Yeah, 2 9,000s, a 6,000, and then this one. Yeah. Some of them needs a little bit more work than others. So a lot of boats, a lot of different people. So when you asked that question, my mind went to, I remembered a lot of the people, the good people I worked with, not the boats. I take better pictures now, the before and after, but enjoy working with, you know, really good people, engineers, pilots, mates. Then there's, it seems like I've been training a steersman. Well, I have been now for, you know, be coming into 4 years. So a lot of training, a lot of different boats, and it's kind of a blur. So and in the past 7 years, all my previous career, I would not put up Christmas lights. Even if a captain yelled, said, I'm not doing it. I hate Christmas out here. Hate it. It's just worth taking a butt chewing, saying no, I'm not putting up Christmas lights. I don't know. It's like 6 years ago. Is it? Oh, it's the Christmas lights, and haven't been able to do it on this boat. Not as what I want, but making a giant Christmas tree out of the mast pole. Past 2 or 3 boats before this, you just run a string of lights up the mast pole, and it makes like a 50-foot Christmas tree. You know, run 3 or 4 strings of lights up there, and it's, you know, my kids have called me crusty captain for ever since they were 3 or 4 years old. But that was more of a thing about my ex. She said that, but it was cute when they said it. Not so much when she said it, but it was cute when they said it. It stuck so much to where I've had T-shirts made with an anchor, crusty captain, and had their names on the back, and it's what they've grown up with. I think, you know, to be a captain, I mean, when you think captain out on the water, do you think some nice guy that gives you group hugs, or do you think some salty old bastard that keeps you safe? But Cole, would you pull shades? Light in here. Right. Oh, by the way, that fire was a warehouse in West Memphis. Ironically, it was owned by something called Awesome Products. I saw it. I pulled up the internet on the. Yeah, I don't know what started the fire. It could be seen for 24 miles.
Well, of course, we met one morning. You were not expecting a visitor, I don't believe, on that mighty Donna Rushing out of Belmont. When you came upstairs, your face kind of said, "Who the hell is this in my wheelhouse?" You were probably, that was probably the 5th boat I've been on. The other 4 were fleet boats. That was my first overnight stay on the water, still with AEP. It's a very fond memory. And of course, in that wheelhouse, I see yoga in the morning. I see a lightsaber on the dash. And very uncomfortably, there's a toilet right next to me. So, do you remember that morning?
I do not. I remember meeting you, but I remember that morning because mornings are tough.
There were pots of coffee for sure.
Mornings are rough. You're catching me, you know, still pretty new. We don't even have a weekend, so I'm still that good. Been at home rest, but after week 3 here, it is, your brain is functioning, but your body needs a minute. So yes, yeah, right. One thing you forgot in that, I probably did not have my hair combed, because I seldom do. I just don't. It is the least amount of moves to get out of bed, maybe grab breakfast, maybe not, and then get up here.
I had a whole lot more to focus on than your hair that morning.
It's so yeah, there's always a toilet up in the wheelhouse. Kind of has to be. I mean, you really want somebody driving and run down the stairs. Right. It's normal after a while, but yeah. When you start, right now the shades are raised, and so when you're using a bathroom, then yes, there's no privacy around here. That changes you over the years. That changes a person. Don't get wrong, I don't go to the truck stops and just leave the door open. They come in with the barge?
It's not ours, it's a rate.
Okay. Anyway, go ahead, Tim.
Tell me about running that Donna Rushing, your experiences from Belmont to Myrtle Grove and that time of your life.
Donna Rush, first handling on that boat is excellent. It's such a comfortable boat, especially for a 6,000. Very comfortable. Anytime I've been on it, great pilots. Boat's easy to keep clean. After you got off that boat, a crew member was hurt pretty bad. Yeah, I still think about that guy to this day on how that happened. We left there, then we went up to the Ohio for a little bit to Cincinnati. Running down, there was really nothing of note other than normal driving. It's a good all-around boat. They're called utility boats. So it's that class 6,000. They do pretty good on every river. And that's like the only thing that sticks out right there. There was really no problems or anything down south. But when we got to the Ohio, a crew member's, can you call it an injury? He was not aware that he was susceptible to epileptic fits, which is, you can't work out here when that happens, when you're diagnosed with that. But how we found out, the general alarm went off at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, pilot hit it. Apparently, when this guy come out of the shower and was getting dressed, he passed out. Usually channel 11. Hang on.
Get on one side. Stop me one.
Wake up.
The crew boat got our groceries down. Starboard side.
Taking on groceries here now also. He passed out. He was in his room getting his clothes on. He just passed out. As he was going down, he hit his face on a piece of furniture, and it cut his face open. And he's bleeding bad. So he wakes up, dazed and confused, crawls out of his room. I know because we had to clean up the trail of blood. It wasn't just the facial injury that he was mentally out of it. By the time I got downstairs, the cook was trying to put a bandage on his face. And he seemed to have superhuman strength also. He wasn't making sense verbally. He was slowing his words. Like I said, blood coming out everywhere. And he kept trying to go outside. He kept saying, I have to go, I have to go. And it took 5 of us just to restrain him. I remember thinking, we're not trained for this. We are not. That became a big discussion for a while. We ended up getting him off the boat, but his face was bruised. The paramedics thought that we beat him. We had to submit to questioning. Police came out. And if you've never been questioned, had to defend yourself that no, we didn't beat this guy. What we didn't know, he was having horrible custody battles, which he lost for his son. It just, you never know what someone else is going through. And then he loses his entire career because he can't. can't work out on deck, have epileptic fits. I remember feeling sorry for the guy, and we all felt pretty helpless helping him physically. So yeah, I remember that guy on so after that, another pilot got on. You know, Mark Tolles. I ended up becoming good friends with him, and he started working on that Donna for a little bit. I wasn't on the Donna long for about a year. I mean, you was on there. It was a pretty clean boat. And
It was nicer than my house, man.
right, that galley's still gorgeous to this day. The woodwork in that galley is amazing. So, right. Yeah, thinking about that, thought about that kid in a while, how much blood it was on him and whatnot. But they ended up changing some policies about what we should and shouldn't do, and then better screening and thought like that on just. Had the cook not been in there to initially stop him, he just sort of. I mean, think about how fast you can walk right out the door, right out into the water, and be gone. So. Yeah, that was an eye opener. Just even when you're good at what you do, you've been out here for a while, does not mean that today you don't see something new or something scary.
Switching gears, if I may.
Go ahead.
A few times you mentioned food, your eyes lit up, and you mentioned some simple joys. Want to share anything about the food out there and how much it matters to the crew, and then what other simple joys there are?
Right, the cook that and she just Mrs. TJ. She was our last cook, regular cook. Pleasant to be around, but every meal you knew that no, it was just she was the kind of person. I said, hey, would you start putting out just a little bit more steaks or ribs when you do ribs? She'd just say okay. She didn't take it as a personal attack, especially when I don't mean it as a personal attack. That and the food was just good. It was important for her for the food to taste good. And so when you know that the food is good, every meal, 3 times in there, people are happier. We congregate more together, laugh more. It just, when you don't have a good cook, people do not congregate. Laughter definitely goes down. And yeah, right. When you're down there, having to make a sandwich all the way just because the food sucks, people just aren't as happy. The morale definitely is lower, and so that's one of the positive things about that. But that is a simple joy. Looking forward to the meal every 3 times a day, or the desserts that they make, or just being pleasant. And everyone needs something, but that one is basic. That is something I've seen every crew respond to. When the food is good and the atmosphere is pleasant in the galley, people are happier. It's easier to be productive when that is at the foundation. And that can't come from me. All I can do is provide the cook, making sure she's spend the grocery money. I do not want them thinking we can operate with less. I want the prime rib once a trip, or the brisket, or we was talking today about, I don't know if it's helping her. I've never seen anyone of the Catholic faith work out here ever. Never even heard of it. And I know, and I've asked 100 people, but we still follow some Catholic rules about food. Seafood on Friday, steaks and burgers on Saturday, which steak was really good today, and then fried chicken on Sunday. I don't know how that got started, but that has always been towboating. We have another cook on here. She seems not as pleasant. Food is good, still pleasant in her own way, just a different way. But she's like 70 years old, woman's still getting around. I would be the same way down there. If you think I would be pleasant to be around as a cook, I would not. It's don't be in here bugging me with your problems. I want the food to taste good, but I'm not in here greeting you with a smile. It's a hard job. I care more about the food tasting good than I'm not in here for boat gossip. And people don't tell the captain stuff anyway. They just don't, and I'm glad. I don't want to hear everything goes on. But the other simple joy is gossip. So let people be people. They're going to follow the chain, but that is a simple joy. Sleep. So it's important to make sure people do have good pillows and comfortable, fan in the room, spit heater, good air conditioning. So sleep, getting good sleep is having comfortable, chairs to sit in when they're on watch, off watch. Simple joys that you take for granted, but you take away, because if you hate your coworker, you don't get to get away from that person. They're there every day. You don't get to go home for the weekend and hate them from a distance. No, they're there every day. So find a way to get along professionally. There's so many people there's a lot of people can't stand as a person. The boat has to come first. So every boat's got a different harmony, different feel. Sometimes it's too much of gossip when it starts involving with work. Having somebody joke around is good for morale. And also, like you see me talk about chief engineers, and usually this comes from a chief engineer. I don't know if they receive separate training the way we do. And so when you got a good chief and we have one right here right now, the guy's, he's an exercise nut. He's full of energy, but he's usually cutting up. He is at the center of morale downstairs. He pulls everybody else together, and it's just when you sit down with a good meal and the chief is there, he's going to be goofing on something, and he doesn't make it religious. He doesn't make it political. It's just entertaining. That level of laughter is important. And one person can't do everything. I'm not the guy in charge of morale. I'm the person in charge of training, another thing, and I don't want to be in charge of morale. I've seen what happens when captains are goofing off. I cannot condone pranks. If they go on without my knowledge and no one's hurt, fine. But if I see it, I have to say stop. So I'm not the fun one. Chief's down there doing pranks, as long as I don't know about it. But once I do know about it, I have to say stop. But the chief is funny. He's funny, and he fixes everything. He fixes it quickly. I can't say enough good things about engineers, about the knowledge that they have to have. A chief engineer that fixes things quickly is also a big part of morale. And we're lucky to have both. A good cook, good chief. Those are important key roles. If you have a surly deckhand, nobody cares. They don't run the boat. They don't run the galley. They don't run the engine room. But yeah, the captain, cook, chief, and the mate, those four people right there, if any one of them is cantankerous or just, it can disrupt the simple things. So those are those simple things right there. That's food, camaraderie. They're important, and they make the days go by a little quicker. Because it's just nice just to be a normal human being for a little bit.
That's not too much to ask, I don't think.
It's not. It's harder what you think to achieve, especially you got people that are that different, or like the chief on the other rotation. He's older. He's close to retirement. He's not. Keeps to himself. He's been on the grumpier side. Not saying he's not doing his job. He just doesn't really like to be around other people. Same thing with the cook. Got that look like, should I ask for some eggs? It looks like she's about ready to cut me. It's not inviting. and the food is just okay. And you know what? And sometimes that happens, but the days do get longer, a lot longer. Or like right now, if you don't have good phone service, it could happen for a day or so, and you don't get to check in with home. Bit different for me I've been out here long enough before there was phones out here. Still, like, I talked to my kids today, but it's been a couple days since I actually talked to one of them. But I don't talk to everyone on phone every day. But texting helps, even if it's something silly. Well, everything. But yeah, you take that away. That's another thing. Like on here, I think it doesn't matter. No one should have to do anything to earn these privileges. It should be automatic. Separating personal from professional. Because a lot of the deck crew hands on here, I have lit up like a pinball machine on the. That's just work related stuff. None of this stuff is personal. Everyone still deserves that. So this company here will provide cell phone boosters per every deck. Used to, it just was the wheelhouse. So it's nice when a person can be in the room texting and communicating with home. And so these little things like that help with the time.
What do your 3 daughters think of the industry? Do you expect any of them to follow your footsteps, not to the wheelhouse necessarily, but into the business?
One might. She's in the Navy right now, and so when she gets out, I don't know, but I doubt it. She's trilingual. She wants to be an interpreter, so I doubt she makes it out here. But she's got that desire to be gone and to see new things. So the other ones, like staying a little bit more local. I mean, they might end up moving, but being gone the way that she is, they enjoy my stories now more that they're young adults. And I guess it took them out getting in the work world. When they're kids, it's just dad's gone. He's a captain. But when they found out I was not a pirate, it really took the wind out of their sails. Like, your job's not so cool. What do you mean you're not a pirate? What is this? Now they was always proud when I spoke at Career Day, it's good that scaring your average boyfriend. But yeah, they have more questions now, and starting to see more how the world works and just work in general. It seems nicer to them now, but it's cut and dry. But I wish they could see what we do out here. It's just a whole different world to them. They never get done. When I'm home, I'm just some relaxed guy. They cannot imagine how I am out here. The 5-minute rants chewing somebody out. They can't imagine that. I mean, they've seen me upset, but nothing like out here. I'm just some guy who's always got time to hang out with them at home. But no, I don't think any of them. I have bragged about dispatchers a lot to them. I've always thought it was a fascinating job, and then how your mind must have to work. So I've been planting that seed for years. But I have 2 kids that are just figuring they have no idea what they want to do. They're a little jealous of the other 2 kids that are so focused. I've got one that's already she's just got her associate's degree in engineering, and she'd like to end up with a man. Who knows what she wants to do with engineering, but she's just fascinated by all things engineering. And she might end up with a land-based job, because when it comes to bridges and building big structures, she's interested in that. But actually working out here, no. But me training Susan, the female pilot that's on here right now, they were really interested in that. But they're not interested in having to do the physical labor to get there. I don't see them doing that.
How is her training going?
Quick. Hers was quick. She had steered a little bit with somebody else, but also, She was almost 40 years old, or 40 when she, she was ready. Asked a lot of questions, and I still mentor her. Well, she's pilot on here right now, so I'm still able to give support whenever it's needed. And I look forward to her being captain one day. I look forward to Cody being captain. I guarantee everybody, the people that seek me out for training, and you don't have to train under me to be good, but usually the people that seek me out, they're going to be captain one day. Is Susan and Cody, unlike the first steersman, they also get to see me clean up a boat. So it's learning to drive, and I like that I passed on. Here's all the things you can do in a boat in 1 year, and nobody can ever tell you otherwise. You can't get that done. Well, no, you've seen it done. So I like the ripple effect of that. So whether they know it or not, whether they use it, it might take a decade just to use these skills. But when it's their turn to run captain and they pick a boat, they'll know exactly how this is the steps you're going to take to get this done in a hurry. And they'll have pride in their boats. But Susan would be the first female captain of a big boat ever if she chooses to take it. Shauna was the last female that we've got. I'm friends with Shauna also, have been for many years. She has no interest in being captain. Doesn't like it. It doesn't fit the personality. Doesn't like it. Susan and Cody will. It fits their mindset. Once they get in a few years of pilot, they'll be asked. They'll take a boat. So I've got so many proteges over the years, even when they're not pilots, second mates that I've trained to first mate. I'm happy with what I've passed on. I've paid it forward. So yeah, I don't need one of the kids to come out here. I'll be happy to retire, open up an animal shelter, and you know, and listen to the nurses here, and go over their house and leave spoiled milk.
Your signal just dropped. I heard animal shelter, and then it just froze.
Oh, that's when I retire. That'd be the dream. Open up an animal shelter.
Well, tell me about that. How many animals do you have at the house?
I can't. I live alone. Can't have. That's one of the downsides of being single. You live alone. I mean, I don't want to. I think it'd be unusually cruel to put a pet in a kennel for a month, and you know, my kids all have busy lives right now. They don't have time for a pet, and then none of them do. Besides, you know, when I don't know, I just can't have a pet. You know? I would have 5 or 6 if I could. I ask every meeting, can we have pets out here? I don't see why every boat can't have a mascot. So, but you know, they turn me down every year. So, because I would teach it to bite people or to go fetch me a sandwich. But yeah, that's why I would just love to have pets. So, could always use another shelter. You know, that's what I would do if I retired. I would build a giant, I'll probably do that for a giant TIE fighter or X-Wing right in my front yard that I'd make. I mean, just a giant one. And then animal shelter. That's the dream.
We'll hope to keep that dream alive. Captain Rains, we are fast approaching 2 hours, which I have not done in a lot of episodes. I'm thoroughly enjoying this one. I hope the viewers are too. But do you have any final story, a good sea story that comes to mind from 33 years?
Man, it's hard to pick just one. There a deckhand a few boats ago. Inner city, when I got on a boat, you know, he was labeled as hard to work with. I did not find him with an inner city kid. spoke a little bit differently than your average person out here. He required a bit of a firm hand, but he was just a good worker, still is to this day. But we were having a safety meeting, and a port captain was out on a boat, and port captain asked him a question, and I don't even remember what the question he asked him, but he said, Captain Dave cares about our training out here. He looks after us. I remember thinking, man, I don't know this kid. But it was a nice reminder that what I was doing does matter. It matters to people when it's all the things you don't know that you're passing on, And he and I are not, I don't have his personal number, he doesn't. But he was able to recognize that, yeah, a lot of people they only see the gruff, they only see the guy giving them orders. So it's nice that somebody saw, look, I care about your training. I may not care about what you do at home or where you're from, but I care about your training here. I want you to be not just trained to work with me, but trained to be a towboater. Because I believe in this lifestyle out here. You know, what you do at home is home, but when you're out here, learn all that you can. Get all that you can for being out here. It'll make your days go by quicker, and the work that you do really will stand for itself. So it was nice to get a reminder from somebody green like that, and that was just the last epiphany I can remember. Now, if you catch me when I'm grumpy one day, I'll probably have a different set of stories, but that'll be the last one. And I've enjoyed this also, Tim. Sorry it took so long to do this, and we'll gladly do it again. And this is the most amount I've talked, 2 hours in a long time. So.
Well, I like to hear it, man. If we get any follow-up questions or anything, we can maybe do another visit with a certain topic, an industry topic. But we'll see what happens, bud.
Have a good one, Tim.
Thanks a lot, buddy. Yes, sir.
This has been a production of Where You At Studios, LLC.